Hello everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending upon when you are watching this video lecture. After the completion of discussion on the first and almost the biggest head of income, salaries, let us move on to another head of income, that is income from house property. But before going to the contents of this head of income, let us understand what are the learning outcomes from this topic particularly. First of all, we should understand the meaning of income from house property and what types of incomes are chargeable under this head has to be identified from the provisions of the Act, and the concepts like composite rent, what is annual value of a property, how to calculate that, and computing the income from house property ultimately naturally will be the most important outcome of this chapter, and also to understand the tax treatment for recovery of unrealized rent or arrears of rent, how to treat that. All these things we will discuss in this chapter. If at all any property is a co-owned property, in case of co-ownership, how the treatment has to be and computations have to be, are supposed to be learned after the completion of this chapter. But most importantly, like the objective of any other head of income, the objective here also is to develop the ability to compute the income from house property according to the Income Tax Act provisions. While doing so, there will be many items. There will be many small requirements which we will have to understand anyway. So that is the broader outlook of this particular chapter or head of income, that is income from house property. But at the same time, before entering into the provisions and all, let us understand some of the features of this head of income which are unique. For example, if you take salaries as a head of income, what is the uniqueness of that? First uniqueness is it is only applicable to individuals. No other type of SSCs can have salary income, not possible. Second uniqueness is salaries income can never be negative. It will be always positive or zero at least is zero. It cannot be negative. Those are the features of the head of income salaries. And of course, as the charging section of 15 says, the income from salaries will be subjected to tax either on receipt basis or on due basis, whichever is earlier. That we understood from the head of salaries. Now coming to this head of income from house property, what are the unique features of this particular head of income? Is this also applicable to individuals? No, it is applicable to anybody. Second, is there a possibility of negative income from the income from house property? Can there be a loss from house property also? Quite possible. There is no problem in that. There can be income from house property or loss from house property. We have to always keep in mind in the Act, wherever there is a positive word, it also means there is an opposite of that. If the Act says profits and gains, that also includes losses. So income from house property does not mean only positive. Negative income also is covered here. But of course, after the computation of such income, according to the provisions of the Act, if it turns out to be negative, so be it. There is no problem in that. That is quite possible. We can call that loss from house property also as negative income from house property. So the first point to identify, the income from house property can be positive also, can be negative also. Both are possible here. And this is applicable to any type of SSC. By the way, not only this head, except the head of salaries, all the heads of incomes are applicable to any type of SSC. There is no restriction. SC could be an individual, company, partnership firm, HUF, cooperative society, EOP, BOI, local authority, anybody. SSC could be anybody. So there is no limitation on the applicability. That is another point to be noted about this head of income. But these are all common things of all the heads of incomes, except salaries. But what is the uniqueness of this head of income? First and foremost uniqueness, which is not there for any other head of income, is that this head of income is a notional head of income. Notional, not national, that is notional. Means the taxability here might arise even though the SSC has not received any income also. Even though the SSC has not earned any income also. But how is it possible, sir? It is possible, sir, because the law says so, sir. Normally, according to the basic principles of income tax, common concepts of income tax, or even from fairness point of view, notional income should not be taxed. Everybody agrees with that. But who are we to say when the law says it is taxable? We have to say, oh, yes, it is also taxable. So it is a very peculiar head of income. Nowhere else in the Income Tax Act, nowhere else in the other heads of income, notional income will be subjected to tax. Always the real income, either earned or received, but that should have been really earned or received. Then only income will be taxable under all the heads of incomes, whereas income from house property is such a head of income where even though there is no income earned or received, still there is a possibility of chargeability of tax. Possibility we are saying. Not that every house situated in India automatically will have to pay tax under this head. Not like that. There are rules, restrictions, provisions about it. But imagine somebody has 10 properties. All of them are not occupied by anybody. He only uses them according to his whims and fancies. 12 properties he has, let us say, he will stay in one property in each month. That is his choice. Let him do that. No problem. We don't have an issue with that. But all of them are used by him only. He has not rented them out or let it out. Neither he has sold them. They are still with him. So he has lots of properties vacant. Sometimes he goes and stays there according to his own convenience. That is absolutely anybody's choice. People are free citizens of this country. They can do that. But the point is he receiving any rent in these properties? No, he is not. Is there any real income from those properties? No, there is not. However, according to this head of income, some of the properties at least will be subjected to tax, though he has not received any income from those properties. In our example, let us say, just for understanding purposes, if he has 12 properties, all of them are self-occupied. 12 properties he has. There are so many people, rich people, have too many properties. What we can do? Yes, one of the SCs has this. So what the income from house property says is, 2 such properties can be considered as self-occupied and there is no problem. No need to pay tax on those 2 properties. But the remaining 10 properties, he has to pay tax. On what? No income he has received, but still he has to pay tax. Still that income from such house properties is subjected to tax. That is the first paradox we have to understand. When we say income here, not necessarily that income is really earned. Even notional income is also subjected to tax under this head of income. So that makes this head very, very unique. That is the major uniqueness of this head. It is a notional head of income. There is no necessity that the SSC has to really receive some rent, really receive some income from the properties. Sometimes, even though the SSC has not received any rent also, not earned any rent also, like in our example, still income from such properties might be taxable under this head of income. Then we cannot say, what income he has received, what will be taxable? That we will come to know what will be taxable. What will be taxable is not the rent. The word here used is annual value. That is going to be taxable. So the point here to note, what is taxed under this head of income is not necessarily the income really. It can be the income earning capacity of the house. Income earning capacity is taxed here, not necessarily that income is really earned. That is the first point we have to keep in mind. That is the nature of this head of income. We like it, we don't like it, it is not fair, it is fair. All these discussions will not have any relevance. Why? Because it is the law. The law says, even if income is not earned, if a house property has income earning capacity, still it could be subjected to income tax under this head of income. When it will be subjected to, how it will be subjected to, how we have to calculate that, that is what we are going to learn in this chapter. We will definitely look at those provisions going forward in the upcoming sessions. But prima facie, what we should keep in mind is this is a notional head of income, not necessarily always, but even if income is not real, even if income is notional, still there is a possibility of getting that income taxed under this head of income. That is a uniqueness of this particular head of income that we have to keep in mind. So these are deceiving words. Income looks like positive, not necessarily, it could be negative also. Income looks like real, not necessarily, it could be notional also. And another deceiving word in this name itself is house. This is a deceiving word. What is house? Normally if I ask, house is where we stay. That is what we call house, where people stay. In general, house is used in the context of residential purposes. The head of income looks like that. The word used here is house property. Looks like we are talking about all residential properties. No, that is another point to be noted. This is not having any restriction. The property we are talking about, the house property, could be residential also, could be commercial also, even if it is industrial also, doesn't matter. The property could be any type of property, not necessarily a residential house property. We should not assume because of the name. Name is deceiving. Income is a word which is deceiving. But now we should understand there is a possibility of positive income also, negative income also. There is even a possibility of notional income also, which is not even an income. But still it could be taxable under this head of income. Same way, the word house is deceiving. Don't fall for that name. It could be residential or industrial or commercial, doesn't matter. House property is house property. The word house here should not be taken from its literal sense. It is not home or anything. We are talking about just a property. Then why a house property is used? Because there should be some construction. Property here cannot be a vacant land. Just a land is not going to be called as a house property. It could be a property. Vacant land is there. Can that be called as property in normal sense? Very much yes. But is that the property we are talking about here? No. That is not the property we are talking. We are talking about a house property which is a constructed property. But main thing to be noted is the purpose of that house property is immaterial. Whether it is used for residential purposes, industrial purposes, commercial purposes, whatever purpose it is used, that is immaterial. All of them will be falling under this head of income, that is income from house property. Because now that the topic has come, so what if this property is used for agricultural purposes? That would be exempt from tax. We will discuss that separately in the chapter of agricultural income. If at all this property is used for agricultural purposes, for example, in a farmland there is a house popularly called farmhouse, or there is an outhouse within a farmland, or there is a storeroom within the farmland which is used for storage of say fertilizers, etc. Whatever it is, if it is used for agricultural purposes, this house property, then it is not taxable. It is exempt from tax since it will be considered as if it is agricultural income under section 10.1. That anyway we will discuss in detail in the chapter or topic of agricultural income later. But because the topic has come, the purpose of house property other than agricultural purposes, any purpose it will be taxable, any purpose will come under the purview of this head of income, that is income from house property. These are the core aspects to be noted before we understand the provisions of this head of income, income from house property. What are those? Income could be positive or negative, income could be notional also, and the house property could be used for any purpose. Residential, commercial, industrial, doesn't matter. These points have to be definitely remembered while we approach the real provisions of this particular head of income. And like any other head of income, this head of income also has a charging section. Just to remind you, what was the charging section for the head of salaries? Section 15. Now, what is the charging section for this head of income, income from house property? That is section 22. So, 22 we can call it as charging section of income from house property. So, what is the income from house property? How it will be computed under this head of income? How the computation of income will happen? The main thing here in this head of income is determination of annual value of the property. Once again, we are not talking about rent received, rent earned. None of those words is used in the charging section. So what is the charging section talking about? Is annual value of the property is going to be subjected to tax. And such annual value of the property, any property comprising of buildings or lands appertaining thereto. Land can be adjacent to the building, land can be annexed to the building, but only land is not called as property here. There should be definitely a building, and that building has some annual value, and that annual value is subjected to tax. And not only that, that building has to be owned by the SSC. Then it is chargeable to tax under the head of income from house property. That is the charging section. So charging section literature is like this. The annual value of any property comprising of buildings or lands appertaining thereto, of which the SSC is the owner, that is subject to tax, chargeable to tax under this head of income from house property. There are many words used here. One is annual value. What is annual value? We will definitely determine under section 23 later. Definitely that is the most important aspect of this entire head of income. We will come to that. But annual value of what? Annual value of a property. And what is property? Property should comprise of buildings or lands appertaining thereto. Appertaining means adjacent, adjoining, annexed to, in the vicinity of the building. So the building and land are part and parcel of the same property. Then we can say the land is appertaining to the building. Only land is there, no building is there. No, that is not a property under this head of income. So what is property here is buildings or land appertaining thereto. And what is taxable is the annual value of such property comprising of buildings or land appertaining thereto. And what is the condition here to be taxed is SSC should be owner of that property naturally. Then only it will be chargeable in the hands of the SSC, right? Whoever is the owner of the property, he becomes the SSC. So, annual value of the property will be taxable in the hands of the SSC when he is owner of such property. If these things are all falling in line, then such annual value is chargeable to tax under the head of income from house property. So that is the point to be noted here as far as charging section is concerned. But as usual, there are some exceptions. We have to keep them in mind also always, because suddenly MCQs type of questions, they will try to mislead with some facts. We cannot blindly say any property is taxable, so we'll put it under income from house property. No. The following two cases are those type of cases where the annual value of the properties is not chargeable under the head of income from house property. If at all they are chargeable, they will be chargeable under the head of PGBP, that is profits and gains of business or profession. What are those exceptions? First and foremost thing, portions of the property occupied by the SSC for the purpose of any business or profession carried on by him, means his own business or profession he is doing in his own property. That is not subjected to section 22. Understand this carefully. SSC owns the property, yes. What is he doing in that? He is using the entire property or even a portion of a property for his own business or profession. How many times we see doctors, chartered accountants, lawyers, their own house they carry their practice, maybe one room. Sometimes doctors will have clinics in the ground floor and house in the first floor, like that. When they are using their own property for their own business or profession, the annual value of such property which is used for the purpose of the business or profession of the SSC shall not be taxable under section 22. It will not come under the purview of income from house property head, rather it will be coming under the purview of PGBP. But once again, because the topic has come, let us understand this in detail. Will it be taxable under PGBP? That also is wrong approach. Why? Because PGBP is not a notional head of income. PGBP is all reality. His house he is occupying for his own business or profession. Will he pay any rent to himself? If he pays so, will we accept it as rent? No. That becomes notional rent if at all he pays rent to himself. So can he claim that rent from the profits or gains of the business or profession that he is carrying out as a deduction, as an expenditure? Not possible. Notional expenses cannot be claimed as deduction. So he cannot claim a deduction for that rent, that's all. When your expenditure cannot be claimed, automatically to that extent, income is increased. But that is not going to be chargeable to tax under PGBP separately, no. So don't think that PGBP will have a chargeability of income, which is notional income, related to the property which the SSC uses for his own business or profession. No, that will not happen. But indirectly it is chargeable to tax. How? How indirectly? Because he is not in a position to claim rent as an expenditure, as a deduction. So his income is automatically increased by that amount. Imagine if the same person has really taken this property on rent from somebody, and if he really pays the rent or incurs the rent, can he claim that rent as deduction? Absolutely yes, because it is an expenditure of business. Definitely it can be claimed as deduction. When we say deduction, always we have to keep in mind, when we say PGBP deduction, we are talking about expenses and losses. What is profit? This is common sense point. Some sales are there, or revenue is there. Deduct all the expenses. Naturally, that's what is profit. That is what we are talking as PGBP. Instead of sales, you can use the word revenue, fees, remuneration, whatever it is, doesn't matter. Names do not matter. If it is professional, he may call it fees. But revenue is revenue. For a trader, it could be sales. From that, deduct some expenses, you will get profit. This is the common sense of any profit. Of course, except salaries. All the other heads of incomes will go with the same logic. There is some income, which is gross, minus some expenses are there, which are deductible from that. What you get is profit. That is chargeable to tax. As we discussed in the beginning, concepts of income. Income is always a net concept, not a gross concept. Same logic applies here. So when somebody stays in his own property, conducting business in his own property, can he claim the rent that he pays to himself as an expenditure? It doesn't make sense. If he pays also, that will form part of his revenue also. So there is once included in revenue, deducted from revenue as expenditure. What sense it will make? It doesn't make sense. In accounting, we may give an adjustment. Rent is debited to P&L account, again added to the capital. So what? Ultimately, capital has not changed. Such type of notional transactions are not recognized by Income Tax Act. Income Tax Act always looks at the substance, normally. So PGBP doesn't have anything that is notional in nature. So the annual value of the property which is owned by the SSE for his own business or profession is never taxable anywhere. Simply that we can understand. We cannot say it is taxable under PGBP also. It is indirectly taxable under PGBP because he cannot claim this deduction as expenditure. Automatically the profit will be more to that extent. If he paid the rent to anybody else, he would have claimed this expenditure as deduction. His profit would have been lesser. So indirectly his profit or the income that is chargeable to tax has become higher because of he staying in his own property for the purpose of his business or profession. That's all happens. Not that separately it will be subjected to tax. No, it is not. So that is the first exception where if any SSE uses his own property for his own business or profession, nothing is taxable under income from house property. That is first exception. Second exception, SSE who is engaged in the business of letting out of properties. That is his business. What is his business? Letting out of properties is his business. Then also, because it is his business itself, such incomes from those properties will not be subjected to tax under income from house property, and naturally those will be taxable under PGBP. Really those will be taxable, but again not on notional basis. That will be on real basis. Really how much ever rent he collects or he earns, that will be his revenue. Any expenses incurred towards buildings will be expenditure. Remaining thing will be his profit if the SC is engaged in the business of letting out of properties. But here also care has to be taken. We are talking about SSE engaged in the business of letting out of properties. We are not talking about developers. We are not talking about contractors. We are not talking about real estate companies. We are talking about particularly those people who are doing business of letting out of properties. Imagine if there is a developer who has house properties as a stock in trade. Means for any other normal trader, for a furniture dealer, furniture will be stock in trade. For a bookshop owner, books will be stock in trade. For a developer, for a real estate company, not the land real estate, we are talking about construction companies. For a such type of construction company, what will be stock in trade? Buildings will be stock in trade. Somebody constructs a 20-floored building with, say, 100 apartments. All the 100 apartments are his stock in trade. Like a furniture dealer sells the furniture, medical shop owner sells the medicines, he will sell those apartments. That is his business. Can you say that he is in the business of letting out of properties? No, that is not what we are talking. He is not in the business of letting out of properties. If somebody is having properties as a stock in trade, his business is not letting out of properties. His business is selling the properties, constructing and selling the properties. So be careful. Don't just jump to conclusions by looking at these names. Somebody in the business of letting out of property is equivalent to some real estate developer or a constructor or a contractor or a building construction company like that. No, we are not talking about them. Here in this case, exception is not about them. Exception is for whom? Those who are engaged in the business of letting out of properties. They don't sell the properties. They might construct them, buy them, whatever they do. But the properties, whatever they own, they keep on letting them out. That is their business. If that is their business, any rental income that is generated from those properties will be chargeable to tax under the head of PGBP, but not under the head of income from house property. That is another exception. So first we should understand what does the charging section say, what is taxable here, what is taxable is not what we think like rent or something. No, what is chargeable to tax here is annual value of a property And what is property? Buildings or land appertinent thereto. And who owns the property? Naturally the SSE. Then such annual value shall be chargeable to tax under the head of income from house property, with two exceptions. One, SSE occupying any of his own property for his own business or profession. Second, the SSE who is engaged in the business of letting out of properties. For both of them, such properties shall not be subjected to income from house property, charging section 22. That is what we have to keep in mind as exceptions. Now, generic things will be there. You can quickly go through these things. Very specific and particular things, you have to be very carefully remembering them. Generic things are what is building. What is building? Anything is building. It could be residential building, factory building, office, shops, godown, commercial, whatever it is. Land appertinent thereto means what? Whatever the land that is connected to the building. That could be like a garden, garage, etc. So the point is, property definitely should consist of building, definitely. Vacant land, no. Vacant land is not a building. So that is the point here. So it may be noted here, income from letting out of vacant land is not taxable under the head of income from other sources. It is not taxable under income from house property. Rather, it will be taxable under income from other sources or PGBP, as the case may be. As the case may be, which case? Of course, if the business of the SSE itself is to keep on letting vacant lands, like he has vacant lands and his business is to rent them out, then it will be taxable under PGBP. If not, then it will go to income from other sources. This logic will always have to apply. Every time we cannot ask the question and have the same answer, because answer is anyway same. When PGBP, when income from other sources will always be a question. When PGBP, if that is the business of the SSE, then PGBP. If it is not the business of SSE, just he has one land and he just let it out to somebody else, then it is not his business. So it will be chargeable to tax under income from other sources. But in any case, vacant land cannot be subjected to tax under income from house property head. Very important point. Building could be any type of building. Don't go by the name of house. House is a misleading word. Building could be any type of building. Residential, factory, any building is building. Some construction done, that becomes building. Then one more condition is there. From the charging section itself, these conditions are all coming. Charging section also said what? The SSE must be owner of the property. Of course, yes. Owner of the property. Here, a lot of litigation will come naturally, because ownership itself is litigation. How many cases will be there in India now, where the ownership is disputed? Thousands of them, lakhs of them will be there. So can that disputes be used as an excuse to evade tax from this head? No, that cannot be the case. So simply, who is the owner according to Income Tax Act? We don't worry really about the legal ownership. We have to look at the reality of that property, because we cannot go and see that. In any problem that we see, almost he is the owner of the property. So we will never get any situation where whether SC is owner of the property or not. If he will be owner, then only we have a problem to solve. Same way in the salaries also, we will never get a situation whether SC is employee or not. Of course he is employee. That is why he has some income. That is why we have to compute something under the head of salaries. So these things are practically debatable, practically litigation issues, grey areas, but that is all outside world, not for us. For us, it is a theory question, if at all, at the maximum. So first the owner. Whoever is entitled to receive the income from that property is the owner. Is there any requirement that registration should happen? No, not required. Legally, registration did not happen in his name. Doesn't matter. Still, he might be owner. Ownership, should it be freehold ownership only, or even leasehold ownership is also okay? Both are okay. Ownership includes deemed ownership. We'll see that later. It is there as a separate discussion and a theory question. So at least from this, what we can assume is, what we can identify is, first of all, Income Tax Act does not worry about the legality of the ownership. It only looks at the substance over form. Once again, legal ownership does not matter. Beneficial owner is enough to be taxed from this particular head of income. So, Income Tax Act does not bother about the legal ownership. It is enough that somebody has beneficial ownership. Beneficial ownership is enough. That is what we can conclude from all these points. And another sideline points, like this can be a MCQ type question. Somebody who owns the building need not also be the owner of the land upon which the building is standing. Not necessarily. So somebody takes a land on lease, let us say for 40 years, and he constructs a building. Can we say that this person is owner of the building or not? Yes, we can say. Or can we say this person is owner of the land? No, he is not owner of the land. He just only rented out that land, leased that land for a long-term lease. Point is, does it matter? When we talk about income from house property, are we worried about building or land? We are only worried about building. The land is none of our business. Land is owned by SSC, not owned by SSC, we don't care. What should be owned by the SSC? The building should be owned by the SSC, which is called property here, not the land on which the building is standing. That may or may not be owned by the SSC. So even if a building is constructed on a leasehold land, still that building is considered to be owned by the SSC. That is the point here. And one more point. The SSC must be owner of the house property in the previous year. That's it. Then his income from house property related to the previous year will be subjected to tax in the assessment year. It doesn't matter whether he is owner in the assessment year or not. Naturally, 31st March 2020 completed, previous year 1920 completed. In May 2020, SSC has sold this property. Does it mean anyway he is not the owner, so he doesn't have to pay any tax on that? No, not like that. Because ownership is when required, in the previous year. Nothing to do with assessment year. That is another common sense point, but that is also important thing. And this is also another theory question which was asked as a case-based question once in the examination. The title of ownership of the property sometimes will be under dispute, naturally. So many properties are there which are disputed properties in the court of law. Then it will be difficult to identify who should be the one against whom or for whom this chargeability of section 22 will attract. So here, who will take the decision as to the owner? Who will have the chargeability of section 22? That will be decided by the income tax department. In other words, the assessing officer will decide who has the ownership. So in case of a disputed ownership, the assessing officer has a power to decide upon who among the two contenders of the ownership title will be subjected to tax under section 22. That is a point here to be noted. By the way, this ownership is an important condition subject to certain exceptions like deemed ownership, disputed ownership, or sometimes even related to the collection of arrears of rent or unrealized rent later. Then the ownership does not matter. But under normal circumstances, these conditions should be satisfied for the chargeability of income under this head of income. First of all, the property should be a building and the SSC should be owner of the property. Of course, who is an owner is a different discussion, what we already had. Owner need not be a legal owner, even beneficial ownership is enough, registration is not required. The property could be freehold also, leasehold also, and deemed ownership also is considered to be owner. The owner of the building need not be owner of the land, and the ownership should be in the previous year, not necessarily in the assessment year. If the ownership is disputed, the assessing officer will decide against whom this charging section 22 will be applicable. And as we discussed later, this ownership does not apply to unrealized rent or arrears of rent collected later. We will come to that later. That will be clear then. Now we don't need to worry about it. Then, use of property. Here once again, the property has no limitation of use. It may be used for any purpose, but only exception already as we know, it should not be used for the purpose of SSC's own business or profession carried by him. That's all. That we know already. There is no limitation on the usage of property, residential, commercial, industrial, all the things are okay. Anything is called as property under this head of income. And just now, as we understood, what about the property which is held as stock in trade? This will happen generally for whom? Usually who are in the business of constructing and selling the properties. Like developers, the real estate companies, the big construction companies, they will have property held as stock in trade. Sometimes it so happens they have constructed the property, but the property is not yet sold. It is still lying vacant. Should the annual value of those properties also will be charged to the income tax under the head of income from house property? Answer is yes. So unfair? Yes. Everybody knows that it is unfair. But still it is taxable. Imagine the fate of the people. We'll come to some relaxation given to those people. That will be only Bernal applied to the bonds. But the burn is this. We'll come to the Bernal part later. But what is the Income Tax Act? Burning there. Creating a burn on all these property developers is huge problem. This is in reality also. Once a real estate construction, we are talking, developer constructs the properties, and if they are not rented out, also, if they are rented out, we don't have any problem. Anyway, they are taxable under income from house property. No problem. But if they are not rented out and they are vacant, still the persons, they have to pay tax, because the annual value of all those properties will be subjected to tax under income from house property. But what is the Bernal here? That is the next one. If the property which is held as stock in trade is there in the hands of any SC who is holding that property as stock in trade, who is in the business of construction of house properties and selling them, such annual value of the properties will be treated as nil for a period of 2 years. 2 years. From the end of the financial year in which the certificate of completion of construction of the property is obtained from competent authority. Of course, if the property is not let out. If it is let out, anyway, it will be subjected to tax. But earlier, the situation was pathetic without this Bernal. Now, little bit of relaxation is given to them. What is the relaxation? Some developer has constructed the apartments up to 2 years from the end of the financial year in which the certificate of completion of construction is obtained. He doesn't have to consider the annual value of all those vacant properties. He can consider them as nil. No taxability, that means. When we say annual value nil means no taxability in respect of those properties, but only up to a period of 2 years. 2 years. From the end of the financial year in which the certificate of completion has been obtained. So what after 2 years? Go back to same fate. Pay tax on the income that you did not earn. You did not earn the income. On one hand, you have developed the properties, let us say some real estate developer, big one, from some wrong location, he has developed some 5,000 apartments. Each of them 1 crore, let us say 5,000 crores is the worth of all those things. He could sell only 3,000 apartments in that. Still 2,000 apartments are yet to be sold. He is trying. On one hand, he is not able to sell. Already he is in deep financial trouble and struggle. On top of it, what our Income Tax Act is telling, because these properties are vacant. These are all annual value of all these properties. Now, you consider that as your income under the head of income from house property. The Income Tax Act is telling. That is the draconian situation, particularly for those people who are holding the properties as stock in trade. It is a very pathetic situation for them, because on one hand they are not able to sell the properties, on the other hand they have to pay tax on the income that they did not earn. If somebody is asking to pay tax on the income that they earned, it is understandable. This income from house property is such a head of income. where it will ask the tax on the incomes which are not earned also. On these 2000 properties, what they earned? Nothing. They earned nothing. But still they have to pay tax on them as the annual value of the properties. Whatever the annual value of the properties are, those will be subjected to tax under this head of income from house property. But only relaxation is what? This relaxation is given only up to 2 years from the end of the financial year in which the certificate of completion of construction is obtained. That is a point to be noted. After 2 years, again, all the annual value of those properties which are lying with them as a stock in trade will be subjected to tax. Few years back, it was completely taxable. It was completely taxable. And before last year, this 2 was 1. Now in the recent amendment, this was made as 2 years. So definitely some relaxation is being extended to them, no doubt about it. But if we look at the reality, what relaxation we are talking about? On one hand, we are asking the tax on the income that they have not earned by showing section 22. And on the other hand, you are telling, okay, don't worry, don't pay tax up to 2 years. So, the fairness of this situation, only the real world knows. Definitely it is not fair. But once again, law is law. Not necessarily that always the law will be fair to the SSCs. Every time. We have seen so many cases in the head of salaries also. Children education allowance, 100 rupees exemption. Hostel allowance, 300 rupees exemptions. Are those numbers fair? Are those numbers representing at least even 1% of the expenditure that people will actually put on those items? No. Those might be the numbers from 25 years back or 30 years back. Then also it would be very less. Now the 100 rupees, 300 rupees per month, what people will get? Nothing. But still the exemption amounts are so negligible, so minute amounts. Not fair. Meals, 50 rupees per meal only exemption. Not fair. They could have been increased. People like us can say that they should have been increased. Fine. We can talk about them 100 hours. Ultimately, law is law. We can understand that these type of areas are there which are not really sounding rational. We can understand that only. We cannot change the law. We have to just follow the law. So, remember the provisions and follow them, apply them in the problems as and when such a situation arises. This stock and trade thing is possible as an MCQ because this time period is important. Time period is only thing. See, up to 2 years from the end of the financial year in which the certificate of completion is obtained, nothing is taxable. After that, it will be taxable. So why this is important is 2 years is not from the date of completion. That is where the problem will confuse you. 2 years people will calculate from the date of completion. No, date of completion is not the date from which 2 years is calculated. From the end of the financial year in which the certificate of completion of construction has been obtained. For example, if completion certificate is obtained, let us say for just example, 1/4/2018. 1/4/2018 completion certificate has been obtained. 1/4/2018. So, 2 years will start from when? From the end of the financial year in which this completion certificate is obtained. End of the financial year means 2018-19. 2018-19 is fully there, but still it will not be counted in these 2 years. Then 19-20, then 2021 also there will be exemption completely. No annual value shall be taxable. That is what we should understand. So, this 2 years countdown will start not from the date of completion, it will start from end of the financial year in which the certificate of completion has been obtained from competent authority. Who is competent authority? Generally the municipality, the local authorities will give certificate of completion. From the end of the financial year in which that certificate has been obtained Up to a period of 2 years, nothing is taxable as income from house property for such people who hold those properties as stock in trade. That's it. That is about some of the basic aspects of this head of income charging section 22. Now there is one more commonsensical point. We don't need to really worry about much on the provisional point. Composite rent. Composite rent, if it is there, what to do? Composite rent means what? Sometimes the rent may be charged by the owner in respect of building also, plus other assets also. Something like furniture or plant and machinery, or for other different services provided in the building sometimes, like lift, security, power backup, etc. For example, just for example, let us say a particular owner charges his tenant 20,000 rupees per month, example only, inclusive of furniture that has been provided by him. It's a furnished apartment, furnished house. So we are talking about income from house property, not from, now we are not interested in income from furniture. So ideally what we should do, we should reduce whatever the item or amount of furniture that is related to this rent. Let us say, imagine if it is 3,000, then income from house property will be 17,000. But the problem is how to find out this 3,000. That is a practical problem, none of our issues. But really to split this composite rent into rent related to house property, rent related to other assets or services is a practical difficulty. But possibility is there that there is a composite rent that has been charged. Same way, usually for many people, rent and maintenance will be separate. Rent will be separate. Maintenance expenses separately will be paid by people who stay in apartments and other places, particularly in cities like Hyderabad. But imagine if the rent includes maintenance and all. Imagine, if at all. So the rent itself is, say, same 20,000, but this includes all the other services provided by the owner to the tenant, including lift, security, generator, etc. Then ideally we should deduct whatever the amount which can be attributable to those value of services. Then income from house property should be only the remaining amount, ideally, yes. But the problem is how to identify the value of those services. But you don't worry about it. We don't have to worry about it. If it is given like this in the question, our great job is to reduce it from composite rent if they are separable. If they are separable. So point here is, depending upon the situation of the question only we have to treat. If it is not separable, completely it is also not possible to identify it as one portion as income from house property and it includes the assets also. That is a different story. So for that depends upon the circumstances. For a residential house, furnished house is provided, 20,000 per month is the rent. We cannot identify how much is the value of the furniture. Don't worry, 20,000 is income from house property. If we can identify the value of furniture to be 3,000 per month, then we deduct it to find out only 17,000, which is income from house property. So depends upon whether this value of the assets and services be measured or not. We don't have to measure it. Don't worry about measurement. It should be given in the question. But point is, if at all there is a composite rent which includes all these items, then it has to be split in the following manner naturally. Whatever the sum attributable to the use of the property shall be chargeable to tax under section 22, and the sum that is attributable to the other things that will be taxable under the head of PGBP or income from other sources, as the case may be. Always the answer is that, as the case may be. We don't know which case it is. So in this case, this 3,000 rupees per month can be subjected to tax under income from other sources of the owner, because his business is not to let out furniture and all. But if his business itself is to let out furniture, then it will be taxable under PGBP. That is a rare case. So for a normal person, furnished accommodation is rented out to a tenant and value of furniture is 3,000. How much is income from house property? How much is income from other sources? 17,000 is income from house property. 3,000 is income from other sources. Total amount is taxable, no problem in that. But only point is, out of this, how much under this head, how much under other head. Same logic here also. 20,000 is total composite rent. In that, how much is income from house property? 18,000. How much could be income from other sources? 2,000. If provision of such services itself is the business, then it is PGBP. So, if composite rent is given, inclusive of all these services or assets, then we have to segregate them into income from house property and PGBP or income from other sources. That is a point to be noted related to composite rent. And sometimes they are inseparable. Sometimes. If the building and other assets are inseparable completely, then what? And we are not talking about these situations. In this case, these are small things. Majorly it is income from house property. Small portion is related to services or furniture. There you cannot say furniture has bigger value than income from house property. No. So in these cases, if they are separable, you consider them as respective heads of income. If they are not separable, you will consider them as income from house property only. But in some other cases, these are not separable. Imagine like, let us say, a cinema theater. A cinema theater is there. A cinema theater is rented out by owner of that theater to the exhibitor. It will have building also, of course, yes, that is major portion. And it will have lot of furniture also, the chairs and all. And it will have plant and machinery also, the projector and all. And it will have other things also, land also for parking place and all. Everything will be there together, it will be given, right? The cinema theater is rented out by the owner of that to an exhibitor. He will rent out everything. He cannot rent out building only, furniture only, chairs he cannot take out and give. Only projector he will not give. Or he will not ask the exhibitor to bring his own projector. No, it's not going to happen like that practically. So the point is, such situations, the letting out of building and other assets is very inseparable. Then what we should do? Should we consider it as income from house property? No, that would not be fair. Ideally, it will be considered as business income or income from other sources. Why? Because building is there, which is also important. But majorly it is not the income earning point there. That building is mostly running because of furniture and plant and machinery also, which is included in that building. So when we cannot separate that and we cannot let out the building without the other assets, that situation itself is not there. If the building is not going to be let out without the other assets, can the cinema theater be taken out of all furniture and blank cinema theater is given? Not possible. That means basically there is a inseparability of the building and other assets. In such case, the rent can be better to be charged or taxable under the head of PGBP or income from other sources, as the case may be. Normally it will be PGBP because for most of the people that is their business of renting out the cinema theaters if they have one or two or more of them. So that is why if there is an inseparability of rent between building and other assets, if the inseparability is happening because of inability of letting out the building without the other assets, then it is better to charge it as business income or income from other sources. But in these cases, it is not correct because it is majorly income from house property. Additionally, some sofa, one television is provided, that is not going to make it income from other sources completely. And in general, in these cases, it is separable also. It is not rocket science to separate the value of furniture from the rent, or it is not going to be difficult to separate the value of maintenance amount from the rent. If it is inseparable, anyway, it is income from house property in these cases. If it is separable, which will be mostly the reality, then it will be separated. To the extent of house property, it will be taxed under this head, and the remaining amount will be taxed under PGBP or income from other sources. That is what is composite rent, another important concept, not law particularly, it's a concept. Then another question comes, or what if they are separable? If they are separable, better no good for us. Whatever the amount is related to building, it is taxable under income from house property. Whatever the amount is coming from letting out of other assets, it will be taxable under PGBP or income from other sources, as the case may be. If they are separable, separate them. What else we can tell the answer? If they are separable, separate them. If they are not separable, that is a problem. Then usually it will be taxable under the head of PGBP or income from other sources. See, most of the cases, bigger cinema halls or function halls for that matter, lot of function halls come with furniture. Furniture will be almost attached to that. You cannot take that out also. So the function hall will be given along with the furniture, along with the decoration sometimes. All the other services also sometimes are provided. Catering services also provided. You have to take there only. You cannot take outside food there. All these rules will be there. A lot of function halls will have all these conditions. Then whatever the income that the function hall owner earns, how can he separate how much is coming from the building, how much is coming from catering service, how much is coming from decoration, how much is coming from furniture? He cannot. So what he will do doesn't matter. All the income is PGBP income. Don't worry about income from house property in such cases. That is the composite income, another important aspect to be remembered. And what if the house property is situated outside India? These are some questions which were given in the earlier exams also. Actually, there is nothing to discuss because there is no difference. Whether the house property is situated in India or outside India. In India, if at all it is situated, it will be taxable for everybody. We know that under residential status, ROR, RNOR, NR, everybody will get attracted to tax if the property is situated in India. But if the property is situated outside India, then only ROR will have the taxability. RNOR and NR will not have the taxability naturally because the property is not in India. Then, such income from house property, even though it is situated in India, is taxable in India, whether such income is brought to India or not. That is first point. Second point, in case of non-resident or RNOR is there, then if there is income from house property situated outside India, only it will be taxable if it is received in India. We know that also. So these 2 points are already known from the residential status chapter itself, nothing new. If it is ROR, anywhere in the world property is situated, that will be taxable. The income from such property will be taxable in India. If it is RNOR or NR, income from house property will be taxable if the property is situated in India or if it is received in India. Then it will be taxable in case of RNOR and NR. And computation of income from house property situated outside India is no different from computation of income from house property in India. It is all the same. At the maximum, what happens? In India, you receive the rent or you calculate the annual values in rupees. Outside India, you calculate in pounds, dollars or some other currency, whatever it is. So just conversion of that currency into Indian currency is not a big deal. The procedure for computation of income from house property is not different at all, irrespective of whether the property is situated in India or outside India. That is one more basic point to be remembered before we enter into the real segment of this income from house property head, that is computation of annual value. Entire chapter of income from house property, of course, with the basic aspects that we already discussed, which are important as well to be remembered, but application is doubtful in all cases. But every question definitely related to this head of income, you have to calculate income from house property by calculating the annual value of the property only. So how to calculate annual value of the property? Once we know it, this chapter is more or less done. I would say at least 60% done. One section, chapter is over, almost over. That is the nature of this chapter. Small one, but important aspects to be identified. Particularly the special cases have to be identified. Normal computation of income from house property is a very mechanical procedural thing. You just learned it in 1 hour and deal. This topic is over. But variety cases. What about composite rent? What about the property situated outside India? Like this. What about the property held as stock in trade? Like these items are also equally important. That is why special care has to be taken about those special items. But routine, normal calculation of income from a house property is a very pretty straightforward thing. That is nothing but computation of annual value of the house property, and how to do that we will discuss in the next session. Till then, take care. Bye bye. Thank you very much.